Hi everyone, I'm a business manager from Madiff. For those who are visiting our page for the first time, Madiff is what we like to call an IT boutique. We are a unicorn developer and we've been working alongside with so many successful businesses that we thought to launch this project and bring tech leaders, product people, and natural innovators with different backgrounds and basically share their market approaches, technical features, projects, and just join us on some casual conversations about hottest topics in tech. For today, we will be dedicating this series to sustainability topics, and we're very much looking forward to see our guests have this topic in their agenda. Uh, for today, we have Simão from PlatformE joining us for a conversation. Hi, Simão. Thank you so
Hi
much for
there.
joining us and bringing fashion to the table. This will be our first episode, so a bigger thanks for helping us launch this project. I think it will be important before we even start talking about PlatformE. It will be important for people at home to get to know you. We've been discussing some interesting stories, so please just give us a glimpse of who you are and what you're doing currently with PlatformE.
Hi. All right. Hi, Vera. Hi, everyone at home. Thank you for having me. First of all, it's a pleasure to be here and to be talking about tech and about what I do. It's always good to be able to take part in these initiatives. So my name is Simão. As you said, I'm currently the CTO of PlatformE. I joined the PlatformE 3 weeks ago, I think, roughly. And before that, I was at SaltPay and Switch Payments. And before that, I was working in actually conservation and biodiversity topics. So my background is a software engineer. I'm from Portugal. Live a lot of my life in Porto or around there. Uh, Something interesting. So, well, I think actually that since I've left faculty, but even before that, I've always been interested in taking part in different initiatives and different organizations. And when COVID hit, and it was kind of this unknown event, no one really knew what where it was going, how long it's going to last, what's going to be its real impact. There were some initiatives created here in Porto and in Portugal, rather, called the Tech for COVID, and in the first weekend of the first confinement here in Porto, we myself and some friends were discussing how can we contribute, what can we do if everything is stopping, how can we put tech to use. And that's how we created a tool called Posso Ir, which means can I go in Portuguese, and it was aimed at trying to help people figure out if they could go to shops, because at that time, with all the social distancing and all the measures that were in place, and also the fear of the unknown, it was really important for people to avoid crowded places, to avoid being too close to those that weren't in their inner circle. So we created this tool with a mobile app for both Android and iOS that had information about queue length in different supermarkets and stores in Portugal. And it allowed you to also contribute to your own impressions. When you went to a shop, you could say if there was a long queue or a shorter queue. This product was a very interesting challenge for us, and I think it had a little bit of a hype at the start, and later on, it was also used for the regulation of the beach access in Portugal, or rather in Portugal, because when the summer started and actually some of the measures were being softened, there was still this kind of unknown. So it was an interesting project. We really enjoyed taking part in it and trying to contribute in some way to that, I guess, craziness of the pandemic. And thankfully, it's no longer needed because things have moved on. And I think it was an interesting side project.
Of course, no, I totally agree. I think it's important that you brought this initial story just to give people at home an idea of how you think, because it will be important later for our conversation, as you probably imagine. And personally, I also think it's very interesting to bring PlatformE for our first conversation. I think it makes a lot of sense. Many people, because you work essentially in the fashion industry, and I think many people wonder if it's actually possible to be sustainable within the fashion industry, right? First, because it is still not very clear to a lot of people what sustainability actually is. And second, because these type of answers, of course, don't worry, I'm not gonna answer. I'm not gonna ask you if you think it's possible. That's not the way we're going. But these type of questions are usually very complex, and they usually don't have one single answer. I want to know. I know that you, because we've been discussing this for a while. I know the way you think, and I know that for you, it has to do with the way the product is thought, the way you define the roadmap. So to start our conversation, I wanted to know, how do you have sustainability as part of your agenda, as part of your product?
Yeah, definitely. Well, first of all, I think it is possible. Not, I know you didn't ask directly, but I think it is, especially because there is a lot of room for improvement, right? There is like there's no two ways about it. Fashion is here to stay. We need clothes and we need to keep warm, but we also want to look good and to be trendy. So it is here to stay. So any efforts I think that can be made to make it more sustainable, to increase that side of fashion, I think they're worth it and they should be delved into. And it is something that drives me. It drove me to accept this role at PlatformE, to take the role of CTO, and it's something that we try to keep in our minds day to day when we're thinking about our product, about our relationship with the clients and other stakeholders, and to always consider that side of sustainability, understanding our mission and keeping it at the forefront of our thought is definitely key. And there are different ways to do it, and there's different products even, and different sides to the fashion industry, like any other industry. And there's the luxury industry where potentially things like made to order are a big and relevant initiative, but there's other sides where there's much more mass production, right? Where like when we're servicing big retailers that sell thousands and thousands of units per week, there's a lot of production and there's a lot of challenges with that throughout the whole supply chain, not just on the retailers that are selling the clothes that have to manage the demand and understand how many pieces of each type they need to handle or have in store available for people, but also when in production and the process of product development and going from idea of a designer to the store and to people's hands. So I think there is a lot to do. So when we're thinking about our products, we try to think of what's the benefit of any given feature or every different new functionality, new approach, new integration. So we have to measure it against different things, right? It's always about the time, the cost to implement, the complexity, is it feasible or not, what's the interest of clients and stakeholders. And we try to mix that in with, okay, what is the real impact of this? Are we tackling the most hot topics? Are we like, what will be the end goal, and how can this actually help with sustainability? And there's different ways, as I said before, there's different aspects to it. Some features will aid just a little bit, some will aid a lot more. It's we cannot obviously negate all the features just because maybe they don't have a direct measurable impact on sustainability, but we try to think the product as a whole and how can we help, and we have different tools that can do that.
Okay. I also remember, I don't know if you remember, but when we had that earlier call, I told you about this company that I saw working with a similar product, and I told you, okay, this doesn't sound very sustainable, and you actually caught me up in it's not that it's not sustainable, but it depends on the way the product was thought. And like you were saying before, there has been a lot of companies starting to pay more attention to the fashion industry. Okay, but there's also the other part of the work that needs to be done, which is on our side as customers. And I think the reason why most people are probably still resistant is because we still have that strong thought about mass production equals cheaper prices. Okay, so at a first glimpse, there's probably some work to be done, and I know you have a very particular opinion with regards to this topic. So please just
Yeah,
give me share it with other people.
I know that is definitely true, right? That kind of it's like the automatic thought that it's done massively because that's the only way to make it cheap. But on one end, there's a truth to that, but on the other hand, I think more and more people are conscious of the impact of mass production like and more than mass production is like the thoughtless or careless mass production, right? Because if there is a demand for a number of pieces of clothes and you only produce that exact number, then it's not overproduction at least, right? So you're like meeting the target. We can argue if it's still too many pieces of clothes, maybe people don't need to buy so much. I'm not going to go into that because that's a whole other conversation. But I think our thinking is that in this industry and throughout the whole chain, there are different aspects of it that can be improved that will not only contribute to a more sustainable industry and more sustainable business, but will also make savings for the stakeholders involved. And that might be what does the trick, right? Because companies are obviously moved by different things. One of them is profit and making money is part of it. And if you can improve sustainability alongside them and alongside making savings, then it's a win-win, right? So that's much more appealing to everyone. And at the end of the day, if we're helping somehow the sustainability side of it, I'm not particularly worried too much in this aspect and in this case about the profits that those companies are making, right? I think there is a lot of things to improve, and this comes from the knowledge of working in the industry. Even though I've only worked for 3 weeks here, I know that. But in the past, I did have some experiences developing some software for the fashion industry in a much smaller scale than I'm doing now. And just recently, we were visiting a client, a factory, and they were talking about their product development process and all the steps and all the time that it takes to develop. And I'm seeing the same things in this massive markets that I saw 10 years ago in a much smaller company here in Portugal. So there, and then the waste is multiplied because, and I can give a quick intro in terms of what I mean about product development is that from the idea of a designer to the production of a number of clothes and some models, garments, there is all this back and forth between the factory and the person or the brand buying the product. And they have to agree if the fabric that they have is right, if it works the way they imagined it, if the colors are correct, if like the sizes are right, if we can actually produce that many in the time necessary. All of this as kind of this back and forth of sending samples back and sending samples forward and checking. All of this life cycle is very long and also causes one of the things that it causes. And I think maybe some people don't know, but at this point we're in January. Oh, actually now we're in February 2023. These companies are working in the collection of spring 2024 because they're developing this new collection that is coming next year. and because they need the time to develop the products, and then they need the time to produce the products, and so the orders are being made. So there's like this big disconnect between what people are buying in the stores and what's being developed, and a lot of those points can be improved with digital products, with the data, with information to optimize not only the product development cycle, and that with our software for 3D visualization, customization, personalization, we can help there as well, so that buyers can see what it will look like. But also on the the ordering and the number of pieces that are being ordered each time, there will be, if they are more aligned with what is being sold in the stores, then you can reduce your overproduction. You can produce more on point with what you need. And obviously, if all of these times are shrunk, probably we can also anticipate all of this process. We can regulate this a bit better, regulate in the sense of fine tune it rather. And so I think there is hope that you can improve the sustainability and still produce in a way that it doesn't make it much more expensive, at least, even if it might make it slightly more, but maybe even then it might not be, because there's a lot of waste in the whole chain. And this is, well, I'm really sold on the thoughts, as you can, on the ideas, and that's kind of working on here, and I'm really enthusiastic about this field, because I think there's a lot of opportunities here.
Of course, no, the right step to join is buy the idea, basically, and that you've already done, and like we can see. The thing is also like basically just as a wrap up, because there is a whole tone of voice involved, right, with the way that your business developers present your company to their prospects, to the way that you speak about the company, and also to the way that on the other side, it has to do with the way the message is received on the other side. So as a wrap up, I think it will be important for you to just brief for us, how do you usually define PlatformE? Because I believe you've been probably doing that quite a while for the past 3 weeks, because people want to know, oh, you joined PlatformE, what do you do? Because I believe a lot of people don't know. So I can imagine that you're probably used to do it by now. So please just wrap up, like what do you consider as your core value, or how do you usually define PlatformE?
So PlatformE, and I will try my best and hope that anyone from PlatformE that's listening is soft on me, because I just joined. But I think we developed a platform of tools that that help kind of digitize fashion in a way. So working in different aspects of it, and previously I was focusing a lot on more the mass production side, but there's different aspects. There's the mass production side of it, but there's also tools that are more focused on the made to order side of it, which means just producing the items that you need at any given point exactly, right? You order one, you produce one, and you get it shipped directly to a consumer. And what we do is tools that enable those kind of businesses and those workflows, from 3D visualization with customization and personalization to order management that brings those orders closer to the factories, to the drop shipping of the items directly to consumer, and then also on this side of syncing brands and factories in product development, and ensuring that the information that is available on both ends kind of brought together and coincides and helps them improve the whole workflow. So in a summary of my summary, we developed a platform with a series of tools that help to bring the end-to-end development of fashion closer and make it more sustainable.
Okay. I believe that by now we covered probably like your values, most of your agenda, and there's probably in the audience like our tech enthusiasts that we also need to give them a taste of what the platform actually does. So I would just ask you to give us a sort of idea of how this development life cycle works. What type of professionals do you usually have involved in this process?
All right. I can give you a quick overview of our current setup. So we have our tech team is kind of well, I was gonna say divided, but we work pretty close. But we have like in the software engineering side and the product side. But we are currently actually implementing a methodology called Shape Up, where we split our implementation cycle in kind of two parallel streams, one focused on shaping what's to come, and one focusing on building what was shaped previously. And by shaping, we mean kind of understanding, bringing market inputs and working with our stakeholders at PlatformE that are a lot of times proxy to our clients or to the factories, and working with them to understand what is needed and why it's needed, shaping it to clearly define its boundaries and how we want to tackle and how much time we want to invest. It's a nice concept with this methodology called Shape Up, which is about, instead of thinking how long doing this is going to take, it's more about how much time we want to invest to do this feature. And then we work together with different stakeholders in the company to bet our team's time on that. And then the team works in like teams and sub teams of 2-3 people, one designer, two developers, or two developers together, depending if they're working more back end or front end, to implement those shaped pieces. And I don't know if you want me to go even more technical or more like tech stack into tech stack, which I can do. So we are most of our services and the tools are built with Python, and we use MongoDB as a database. We have event-based architecture for a lot of what we do, and then we have kind of interfaces in JavaScript using Vue.js, and we have two mobile applications. They're built with React Native, so that they can be used both on Android and iOS. And that's kind of it in the kind of the core of the tech stack. We have some other things like we have some Rust in there and for some tools, which is kind of and kind of a newer language. It's gaining some traction in the industry. What else might be interesting here? Well, I'm still getting my head around a lot of our services and how they're set up, but there is, and I think I'm a true believer in this idea that like developers should work really closely together and closely with the designers to build the pieces and to ship what matters. And so it's I think that's more on kind of a lot of my focus, especially at this start, is kind of understanding our current development processes, working with the team to iterate on them as needed, and make sure that we can ship new features with quality, but also with come with a quickish rhythm, so that we can provide value more quickly to our clients.
Mm-hmm. I believe that these hints that you just dropped will probably be enough to have some of our tech enthusiasts looking for the page,
and now,
find out the rest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we have but we actually, I almost forgot about that, because we do have a bunch of things with a 3D, obviously, for our personalization tool, and where we use like two different rendering, and this will be super technical, but we have kind of something which is called pre-render and compose, where a lot of because we're creating a 3D image or 3D visualization based on images, so this is kind of computed on the back end, servicing those assets. But we're more recently also working with client side rendering using 3JS to have a different set of features, because they're not mutually exclusive. They're kind of complementary in terms of the experience that we want to give to the end user.
Okay.
Sorry,
Okay.
I had to chip that in
No,
because otherwise.
no, you don't know. You don't know, but in the beginning, I was telling you that I had to buy a chair, but like a real chair, a chair, just so I can really interpretate the character and think the way these developers think. So it for sure was completely easy to understand for me at this point. No,
I'm glad.
no. Simão, I wanted to thank you. It has been a great conversation so far. As for the technical side, I am sure PlatformE is in great hands. Okay, and we've had a previous conversation before this. Okay, I've already mentioned it, and with the story you shared in the beginning, I think everyone at home knows you like to think out of the box. Okay, so we just wanted to set you a challenge that I think you were probably expecting it already. And for people at home, before they think this is impossible to think of, this is just a free space for Simão to give us some of his ideas. Okay, so Simão, I wanted to ask you if you had unlimited resources. Okay, once again, we know this is impossible. It's important. It's important to mention again. But if you had unlimited resources, what would you do to make the fashion industry more sustainable?
Well, it is. Well, it is sad that it's impossible. I love to have unlimited resources, but it is a reality. I think that we're, I believe we're giving a lot of steps in PlatformE to move in that direction. There's a lot of technical challenges with not just with the tech that we work on and that we develop, but also with the technology that factories use or that stores use, right? From, I'm not even talking just about the point of sale or the ERPs, but also on the actual machinery that is used in factories. Like there's challenges, and I learned recently that in some big factories, you need at least 24 hours to swap the color that you're using in a given machine, because you kind of to clean it all up, and that's time that is stopped. So, but if I did have unlimited resources, I think like the way to make fashion like really super sustainable, and it's not just it's kind of utopian really, is like to have such a technology that the designer could just draw up what they wanted, and it could be printed or, well, not printed, but it could be fabricated kind of immediately without any boundaries. At the moment, there's challenges on how you can do made to order, because the factories have to be prepared with the raw materials, and they have to have the cutting silhouettes so that they can, the machinery that they have can actually build the things that you want. But on the other hand, like we see these fashion shows and you see like obviously like the catwalk is not made of simple t-shirts and tops and shirts. It's made up of this amazing creations full of creativity, but probably not mass producible at this point. So a lot of resources, one could invest unlimited resources to be to tackle this challenge. Can we actually make anything that you draw buildable in a sustainable way by even sourcing different parts from different factories and then just assembling them by hand potentially? I don't know if that was, and obviously that would be the best way to, like, a bit like 3D printing is kind of like bringing a revolution to people's homes, where you can, like, you break some plastic piece and you can print it and then just replace it with your own. Like if you had this way of printing your own clothes, probably not great for a lot of designers. People could make their own, but there's room for everyone, I think. And potentially you could just design what you want as your next trendy t-shirt, and you could just have it delivered to your door. And then we'll be obviously much more on one, like bringing the need to the demand, like, or like to the offering rather, like super fine tuned. I think that's not just utopian, it's quite probably impossible, but I think giving like the steps towards there, we can already make a change, and I think we can have a very positive impact. So I don't know how innovative this is, or it's just, but I think it could be useful.
We hope that PlatformE is the first one setting a foot in that field in that case, right? Because you already have
Yeah, exactly.
you have ownership
Just
over
need to go and do it.
happen, of course. Great. Well, Simão, I wanted to thank you once again. Okay, it was a great debate. For people at home, we will leave PlatformE's social media also available on our page, so you can check. We will also leave Simão's profile in case you have any other questions about these side projects that he has been developing. I am sure that if you have any doubt with regards to PlatformE, he will be more than glad to jump on a short conversation and make them clear. From our side, we will also be preparing some new episodes with very updated topics and very interesting ones as well. So please make sure to be attentive to our LinkedIn page and our social media in general, and please join us for the next conversation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and good luck in the next talks. It's been a pleasure, and we'll be in touch.
You also
Thank you
have
very
to
much.